The jungle wasn't supposed to breathe. Not like that. From the edge of the clearing, a shimmer in the treetops betrayed something large, too still to be the wind, too quiet to be natural. And yet none of the monitors beeped, none of the sensors blinked. The beast was there, but every piece of human technology insisted it wasn't. Except for one. A child's giggle. Soft. High-pitched. Oblivious. It cut through the humid air, dancing across the clearing like sunlight on dew. It reached the beast's ears long before the scouts realized the child was missing. The beast didn't move. 6 limbs coiled. Breath held. 6 golden eyes blinked once, slowly, adjusting its ocular membrane to scan past the dense vegetation. There, not 20 feet away, was a small human, tiny even by hatchling standards, squatting in the dirt with a stick in one hand and some sort of wiggling device in the other. The toy buzzed and spun. It had wings that shimmered and a face with painted eyes. The human cub squealed with delight and tossed it into the air again, only for it to spin back toward her like a faithful creature. The predator, the wreck of the 9th stalker clutch, watched in absolute silence. It had crossed 2,000 light years for this hunt. Not for glory, not for meat. For proof. Proof that the Terran colonies were real. That the rumors of impossible resilience, of prey that didn't run, were more than back-channel myths. Now here it was, 6 hours into its first field test, and the apex predator of Clan Gore's elite warrior caste was stuck. Watching. A child. The planet, New Arden, the 3rd Terran attempt at deep space terraforming, was barely habitable, still locked in what the humans called settlement phase. The colonists had set up biodomes and sensor fences, dug their roots in like they always did, and within 5 years, their outposts had grown into villages. This one, Harmony Ridge, was barely a speck on the planetary map. It had no military presence, no orbital cannons. Easy pickings. Or so Vierak had thought. It wasn't supposed to be this complicated. The humans had sent out signals. They wanted peace. But Vierak didn't believe in signals. He believed in behavior. And behavior didn't lie. They said humans were soft. Sentimental. Weak. Then why, when his scout drone tested the perimeter last night, did one of the villagers sprint into the jungle to rescue a goat? Not for food. Not for status. For the goat. The beast had expected a show of teeth, a perimeter drone, or a fire. Instead, the man had wept when the goat's leg snapped. Then carried it back. Carefully. Gently. Predators didn't do that. But prey didn't either. And now there was this cub. Alone. Where were its protectors? Where were the screams? Vierek's muscles tensed. It could kill her. It should kill her. The rules of the hunt demanded it. Prove dominance. Break the line. Make the colony bleed before they knew they were under siege. But the girl, maybe 3 Earth years old, just smiled and waved the toy. It made a noise. A mechanical chirp. Something like weep. The wings fluttered. Vierek flinched. The toy had scanned him. How? A small light blinked on the toy's plastic surface. Red. Then green. Then blue. A sequence. The universal code for friendly. The beast nearly growled. Was this a trap? But no. The child wasn't even looking. She was focused on the mud now, drawing patterns, circling imaginary animals, humming a song that sounded like an ancient Earth lullaby. Something about stars. Or maybe bears. Vierek didn't know the language, but the tune felt safe. That confused him more than anything. He scanned again. Still no perimeter alert. No panic. No search party. Just this cub, humming to herself. From behind, a soft click broke the stillness. Vierek turned just enough to detect movement. A drone. Human-built. Hovering low behind the treetops. The beast tensed. This was it. The moment of confrontation. He'd been marked. The drone should have sounded an alarm by now, issued a sonic ping, or at least scanned his heat signature. Instead, it just hovered. silent, watching the girl. Its camera lens blinked. Zoomed. Was this the Guardian? The predator lowered its stance. If the humans had wired their surveillance to ignore threats in favor of watching children, that would explain a lot. It took one step forward. Just one. And the child froze. Her head turned slowly. Not scared. Curious. As if she'd smelled something new. The toy buzzed again. It turned midair, drifted toward Vierek. The wings pulsed. It stopped just shy of the foliage. And then, without fear, the child giggled, high, musical, and toddled toward it. She wasn't looking at the toy. She was looking at him. Straight through the leaves. Into 6 golden eyes. Vierek didn't breathe. Her voice rang out, sweet and clear. You hide bad. Then she offered it. The toy. Held in one tiny hand. Her other hand waved again. Come! The predator stared. This wasn't a trained behavior. This wasn't bait. She didn't even know what he was. But she knew he was there. And she invited him closer. Back in orbit, aboard the observation skiff, a cloaked figure leaned over the feed and whispered to another. She made contact. Contact? The voice on the other end crackled. With who? With the stalker. Impossible. He's cloaked. She waved at him. A silence. Then, did he react? The feed pulsed. Static washed over the screen. Then returned. He hasn't moved. But his pupils widened. He's processing. A pause. What did she offer him? The analyst looked again. Something plastic. She tried to bribe a stalker? Or befriend it? The command center was quiet for a full 7 seconds. Then laughter. One analyst snorted. Of course it's her. Below, Vierek remained frozen. The cub had dropped the toy. It bounced once. Buzzed. Then rolled toward his feet. The child waited. No fear. No retreat. Just trust. He bent, slowly, one clawed limb brushing the toy. It chirped again. A different sound this time. Not detection. Recognition. The toy knew him. That was when the predator first hesitated. Not from fear. But something older. Something he hadn't felt since the egg hatchings. He looked back at the child. She smiled. Not a challenge. An invitation. Play? The toy sat between them, humming faintly, as if unsure what came next. The child leaned forward, one hand resting in the dirt, her balance wobbling the way all toddlers did. She wasn't in a stance of fear or defense. Her other hand stayed outstretched, palm open, as if waiting for him, expecting him, to take the toy and join her. Vierek had been trained for every kind of prey. He knew when to strike, when to intimidate, when to vanish. But nothing in his ancestral memory, no whisper of predator code, told him what to do when the prey offered something. He scanned again. Still no weapons. Still no backup. The drone above remained silent, lenses focused solely on the cub. And the child, she giggled and plopped onto her bottom, kicking her feet happily in the mud. The hunter stepped forward. 1 foot. Then another. The foliage parted without sound, his camo skin shimmering slightly as light bent around his armored frame. The toy's proximity scanner chirped, and the beast froze again. The child clapped. Kitty! Vierek's fangs clicked together in surprise. Kitty? It wasn't a word he recognized from military analysis. A search through his implant's dictionary module found matches. Terran feline, domesticated predator, often kept as companions. A stalker. Called a companion? Insulting. And yet, somehow, disarming. He reached down, claws delicately surrounding the toy. It buzzed at his touch, scanning his temperature, shape, mass. Then it purred. Literally. A soft purring vibration. He flinched. The girl's smile widened. Kitty likes it! His claws tightened involuntarily, but then loosened again. There was no threat. Just code. A recognition sequence. A toy's way of saying, You're accepted. And from the look on her face, that was all she needed to trust him. Back aboard the observation skiff, things weren't as quiet. Is he malfunctioning? Commander Reese barked, arms crossed in disbelief. That's a frontline stalker. One of Gore's own. He should have taken the shot 5 minutes ago. No sign of aggression, the analyst replied, chewing a stylus. Biometric feed says he's confused. But not hostile. He's interacting with her. He's analyzing the toy. The toy? A second screen zoomed in. The purring signal from the child's spinnerbot had shifted to a diagnostic pulse. On Vierek's claw, the toy had activated a feedback loop. Its programming, designed to soothe children via heart rate mimicry and AI mimicry, was adapting to Vierek's biorhythms. It was syncing. Sir? A technician piped up. We have a problem. Reese turned. What kind? The toy's AI, tiny though it is, has read the stalker as non-hostile and registered it as a guardian form. It just reclassified him as a comfort creature. A comfort what? The technician flinched. It thinks he's safe. Protective. Basically a big alien plushie. The commander stared. We built a children's toy that thinks that Death Incarnate is a plushie? Technically, sir, she taught it to think that. All heads turned to the girl again. She was now stacking rocks. 3 high. 4. One toppled and she laughed again. Vierek tilted his head, claws still curled loosely around the buzzing toy. He watched her rebuild. Again and again. Failure. Persistence. Laughter. These were not predator traits. They weren't even prey traits. This was something else. Something older. Down below, Vierek blinked. Her game had rules. Unspoken. But clear. Stack the rocks. When they fall, start over. But smile. Keep going. It wasn't combat. It wasn't survival. And yet, it demanded precision. Discipline. Patience. He crouched lower, his cloaking field still flickering faintly with each movement. But the child didn't care. You play? She asked, offering him another rock. He took it. Gently. And stacked it atop the others. It wobbled. He froze. But it stayed. The child clapped. Miles away, the village was just beginning to stir. Eli Garland, Harmony Ridge's only security officer and part-time electrician, stormed into the community center with panic in his eyes. She's gone, he gasped. Who? The elder asked. My daughter. Kala. She slipped past the fence. Tracker says she's on the edge of the tree line. A medic frowned. We scanned that area. Nothing hostile on radar. Doesn't matter. I need a team. Now. The elder moved to the console, flicking through feeds. There's a drone watching her. Eli's heart stopped. Wait, what? The screen showed a tiny form sitting in the mud. Smiling. Tossing rocks. And just behind her, shimmering, nearly invisible, was something huge. Something wrong. What the hell is that? The medic looked pale. That's not one of ours. The elder leaned in. Zoom. Enhance. The image sharpened. 1 rock. 2. 3. And a clawed hand. Placing the 4th. Eli collapsed into a chair. She's playing with that? Back in orbit, the command deck was descending into chaos. We need to extract her. Reese growled. With what? Another officer shouted. The stalker's still active. If we move in with force, she dies. She should have died 5 minutes ago. The analyst turned. Then maybe we should ask why she hasn't. No one spoke. Then the screen beeped. Vierek had moved again. This time, toward the toy. He handed it back. The child accepted it with a grin and immediately tossed it into the air. It buzzed. Twirled. Vierek caught it. Reflex. Instinct. And then handed it back again. It was a game now. Catch. Return. Catch. Return. And with each cycle, His heartbeat slowed. His limbs lowered. His cloak dimmed. And his golden eyes blinked slower. That was when the wind shifted. And Vierek caught a new scent. Not from the girl. But behind her. Smoke. Fuel. And metal. A rescue buggy. Moving fast. Tires churning mud. Human soldiers aboard. Weapons drawn. Closing in. The predator stood. Full height. The child looked up, confused. Then her eyes followed his. She turned. Saw the lights. The buggy skidded into the clearing. Men leapt out, shouting. "Don't move! Get the girl! Take it down!" And that was when Vierek did something none of them expected. He roared. Not at the girl. At them. The sound split the air, shaking leaves from trees and silencing even the birds. The soldiers froze. The girl didn't scream. She just turned back to him and whispered, "No, like loud." He turned to her. And knelt, shielding her with his body. The soldiers didn't fire. They couldn't. Their hands trembled. Their optics glitched. Their instincts screamed at them, "Don't." Eli stumbled forward. "Kala!" The girl looked up. "Daddy!" He ran for her. And Vierek let him. Didn't move. Didn't growl. Didn't strike. Just watched. As father and daughter hugged. And she whispered, "He's my kitty." Eli slowly turned to the beast. Vierek watched him. Measured him. Waited. Eli dropped his rifle. And said nothing. Back in orbit, silence reigned. Then Reese muttered, "Well, we can't kill it now." They should have shot him. That's what the protocols demanded. A hostile alien species in striking distance of a child? The order was automatic: fire first, recover remains later. But in that breathless moment, rifles raised, breath caught in throats, and eyes wide with disbelief, not a single soldier squeezed the trigger. Because the beast wasn't attacking. He was protecting her. Flight Officer Eli Garland held his daughter in one trembling arm and stared into the golden, unblinking eyes of the stalker. They stood just feet apart, predator and protector, while the other soldiers fanned out, half expecting something to snap. But the moment held. The child nestled into her father's shoulder, resting her head peacefully as if nothing strange had happened. No fear. No panic. Just sleepy comfort. "Kitty's tired too," she whispered. And somehow, that was the most terrifying part. High above, on the orbital skiff, the command deck was chaos. "This is not happening," Commander Reese muttered, pacing with barely contained fury. "We are watching a classified predator bond with a human child. This could trigger a dozen treaties. Then maybe we untrigger them," said Analyst Spoon, pointing to the feed. "The stalker hasn't harmed her. He had 100 chances. He roared at our people. To protect her. He's manipulating her. With what? No language. No tools. No telepathy. He's just there." Another voice cut in from the corner, this time from the diplomatic officer who'd been silent until now. "We may be looking at a new paradigm. This isn't war. It's something else." "Say it plainly," Reese snapped. The officer looked up. "He's bonding." Vierek didn't understand what had happened either. The humans had arrived as expected, fast, loud, armed. He knew the type. He had fought their kind before on other worlds. Efficient. Ruthless. Linear in their logic. He should have killed them. But when the girl had turned and whispered, "No, like loud," something deep inside him shifted. Something older than combat. Older than code. He had roared to stop the advance. Not to strike. To shield. And now she was gone, swept into the arms of her blood family, taken behind the ring of weapons and men with loud voices and orders. But the child had looked back. Not with fear. With sadness. With loss. And something inside him hated that. Inside the mobile med bay, Kala Garland sat on the exam table, swinging her feet while doctors scanned her vitals. "She's fine," the chief medic said. "No toxins. No injuries. Heart rate steady. She's calmer than any child I've seen under stress. Eli held his daughter's hand. She doesn't even know what happened. She knows enough. The medic replied, motioning toward the scribbles on the data tablet. She drew this while waiting. The screen showed a crude finger painting, a large, spiky shape beside a smaller stick figure with messy hair. Between them, the unmistakable shape of the buzzing toy. And all three were smiling. Eli exhaled slowly. She bonded. With what, exactly? Something that doesn't know how to smile back. Outside the mobile unit, Vierex stood where they'd left him, just past the tree lean, 6 feet of coiled muscle and alien armor. He hadn't moved in 20 minutes. The soldiers kept their weapons raised, but no one dared step closer. Eli finally did. Alone. No armor. No gun. No helmet. He walked past the barricades, up the muddy path, and stopped within 10 feet of the beast. Vierex's head turned slightly. Recognition. Eli held up the toy. It still buzzed faintly, wings flickering as if unsure whose hands it preferred. She left this, he said quietly. Vierex said nothing, but his eyes fixed on the spinner. Eli hesitated, then tossed it gently through the air. Vierex caught it. No flinch. No tension. He held it, studied it. And then, with the same gentle motion the child had shown, he set it down on the ground between them. Neutral ground. Eli took a step forward. You didn't come here for her. Still no reply. You came to study us. Or test us. Or maybe kill us. Vierex tilted his head. Eli looked down. She doesn't know what you are. Doesn't know what you've done. And she still trusted you. He met the alien's eyes. Don't make her wrong. The silence stretched between them. One man. One beast. A child's toy humming quietly between them. Then a voice crackled through Eli's earpiece. Command wants him off the planet. Alive or dead. Eli didn't move. He just kept staring. Let me try, he whispered. That night, a storm rolled in. Wind lashed the colony walls, and rain hammered the rooftops like gunfire. Kala refused to sleep in her own room. She curled up in her father's cot, clutching the spinner tightly to her chest. Kitty will come back, she whispered into the dark. Eli didn't answer. He stared at the ceiling, one hand on the rifle he hoped he'd never use. Because across the field, at the edge of the forest, 6 golden eyes still watched through the rain. Not hunting. Just waiting. Back in orbit, the diplomatic officer slammed a new file onto the command desk. You need to see this. Reese scowled. Unless it's the part where we vaporize him without breaking 50 treaties. It's the part where we don't. He turned the screen. It showed images from other colonies. Other stalkers. Other failed hunts. This isn't the first time. It's just the first time someone saw. More images. A child shielding a wounded dog. A stalker watching from above. A teenager shouting at an invader not to harm their pet. The invader backing down. Each one subtle. Dismissed. Buried in redacted reports. These things don't fear us, the officer said. But they notice us. And more importantly, they're learning from us. Reese stared. Learning what? The screen blinked. Back to the child's drawing. Where the beast had a smile. Down below, at 2:14 a.m., Kala's spinner lit up on its own. She stirred, blinking sleepily as the toy chirped once. Then again. The lights pulsed in a rhythm she didn't know, but her smile returned instantly. She slipped out of bed, tiptoed to the window. The rain had stopped. The clouds had cleared. And at the edge of the colony perimeter, just beyond the reach of the floodlights, he was there. Just watching. She raised the toy to the glass. It chirped. He blinked. Connection established. The next morning, Harmony Ridge woke to news that spread like wildfire. The stalker was gone. No weapons fired. No damage dealt. But deep in the forest, scouts found something strange. Not blood. Not footprints. but a perfect circle of stones. Stacked carefully. 4 tall. Just like hers. And in the center? A small wooden carving. Rough. Unfinished. But unmistakably shaped. Like her toy. The stars looked different now. To Vierek, orbiting just beyond New Arden's atmosphere aboard his clan's silent skiff, they weren't just coordinates or hunting markers anymore. They were stories. The little one, Kala, her name etched into his memory, had not just altered his mission. She had altered him. The spinner toy lay on the console in front of him, silent now. Its mechanical chirps and purrs had stopped. But he didn't need it to speak. He remembered the sound of her laughter. The clumsy way she stacked stones. The small hand offering him a toy with no fear in her eyes. And the way she'd looked back, even when taken away. As if to say, "You're still invited." The honor protocols of the Stalker caste had no precedent for this. Warriors did not pause a hunt. They did not allow targets to walk away. They certainly did not leave gifts. And yet Vierek had carved the toy replica with his own claws. One curve at a time. He'd set the stones with precision, remembering her delighted clapping every time the stack held. It had taken the entire night. It was not a trophy. It was a reply. Down below, Harmony Ridge was still trying to understand what had happened. Every analysis failed to make sense of it. The elders called an emergency council. Scientists reviewed drone footage frame by frame. Strategists attempted to simulate Vierek's behavior using AI models. None of it matched. Eli Garland sat in silence, staring at the carved spinner recovered by the scout team. It had no markings, no digital parts. Just wood, hand-sanded, hand-shaped, well, claw-shaped, crafted with care. Not a message of intimidation, but of memory. "What is this?" one official asked, bewildered. Kala answered. "It's for me." "Why would it leave something for you?" She shrugged, as if the question missed the point. "Because I said we were friends." On the 4th day after Vierek's departure, a message pinged across the colony's outer radar. But it wasn't from Earth Command. Or any known alien race. It came from deep space, encrypted, brief, and unreadable by any known cipher. Except one. The spinner lit up on Kala's nightstand. She clapped in delight. "Kitty's talking again!" In orbit, the clan's High Council convened. Vierek stood alone on the dark last deck, towering above the lesser hunters who glared at him with disbelief and shame. "You abandoned the hunt," hissed Elder Varnak. "I observed," Vierek said calmly. "You let a target escape." "She was not the target. She was the lesson." Gasps rippled through the chamber. "You dared let her live?" "I chose to," another elder growled. "Our ancestors demand strength." Vierek looked up, eyes burning gold. "She showed more strength than any prey we've ever seen." "She trusted a monster." Murmurs spread. "She offered peace without power. Defense without a weapon. And I, who have hunted for decades, could not break her spirit. That is not weakness. That is proof." "Of what?" "That their young are dangerous in ways we don't understand." The council paused. The matriarch, silent until now, spoke at last. "Would you fight beside them?" "I would." "Then bring them something they understand." Vierek nodded. And turned toward the stars. The message, once decoded, was simple. A sequence of coordinates. A date. A request. 5 weeks later, a diplomatic vessel from Harmony Ridge left the atmosphere for the first time. On board was Kala, Eli, and a delegation of linguists, engineers, and child psychologists. No military. Just trust. They arrived at a drifting satellite, the same orbit Vierek had once used. But he was not alone now. Other ships hung beside his. Not warships. Not carriers. Scout vessels. Scientists. Learners. A meeting place. And in the center, Vierek stood waiting. Kala ran to the window. "There!" Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. "We don't know what he wants yet." "Yes, we do." she replied, beaming. He wants more toys. The meeting was held not in conference rooms, but on soil. A neutral planet. The Arex kind stood on one side, humans on the other. And in the middle, one little girl, holding a spinner, walked forward. This time, she had two. She held out the second one, handmade from wood, just like his gift. Your turn, she said. The Arek accepted it with reverence. And the alliance began, not with a treaty, but with play. Months passed. Harmony Ridge became the first human colony to host an alien guest. Not a soldier. Not a spy. A watcher. An observer. The Arek never carried a weapon again. But he trained. And watched. And learned. He walked with Kala through the same woods he once stalked with murderous intent. He taught her how to track animals by scent, how to move silently, how to read wind. She taught him how to whistle. He failed every time. And she laughed every time. That he succeeded at. Back on Earth, stories spread. Skeptics called it manipulation. Believers called it hope. Politicians argued. But none could deny what had happened. An apex predator, once feared across systems, now guarded a child like his own. And others were watching. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the toy incident, the colony celebrated its first interspecies festival. The children wore handmade masks, some shaped like beasts, others like humans. They danced together under lanterns. Old warriors from Virex kind joined in. Some even tried earth food. Badly. The roasted marshmallow caused 3 warriors to faint. They called it the burning sugar ball of death. Kala just grinned. You'll get used to it. The Arex stood near the edge of the festival, watching. Same as always. Silent. Still. Until a small tug on his claw drew his gaze. Kala stood beside him, now taller, older. She held out a new toy. This one had 6 eyes. Spiked armor. And a big, crooked smile. He blinked once. Then knelt and took it. It buzzed. He growled softly. It purred in return. She leaned in close. Still hiding, bad kitty? And for the first time ever, in front of witnesses from 2 species and 3 recording drones, the Arex smiled.